Hi there, news today from the Express. More doom and gloom, I'm afraid. Belgium backlash, thousands protest over harsh migration stance and police raids. The Belgian government has faced a backlash over its harsh stance on illegal migrants, and 2,000 people have protested planned raids by federal police. Campaigners have been protesting the planned arrests of migrants by the federal government, and certain police forces in the city of Brussels have refused to participate in the federal police operation. The protests come amid soaring tensions in Belgium, as many locals are concerned the government is being too tough on migrants amid reports 100 people were deported back to Sudan were tortured on their return. President of the League of Human Rights, Alexis de Swave, said, "Solidarity is not a crime. It is thanks to the commitment of many citizens that there is no second Calais in Brussels, not thanks to the government." Volunteers from charities have united to host around 200 migrants who would otherwise have had to sleep in parks across the city. Migrants have been camping out in Brussels' Maximilian Park since 2015. Junior Minister for Migration in Belgium, Theo Franken, has faced criticism and calls to resign for organizing the deportation of the Sudanese migrants. The decision sparked uproar due to Sudan's awful human rights record, and that its president Omar al-Bashir is wanted by the International Criminal Court for trial on war crimes and genocide charges. The coalition government in Belgium was at risk of collapse over the scandal. Last summer, Mr. Franken organized a crackdown on migrants, setting up a makeshift camp in Brussels, and was condemned for calling it a clean-up operation. The opposition party was furious about the phrase clean-up, and even the Prime Minister of Belgium, Charles Michel, described it as inappropriate. A Brussels resident trying to help the migrants, Nabil Mujahid, said to Deutsche Welle, "The people here are completely exhausted. The hygienic conditions are a disaster. There have been several scabies outbreaks. They are exhausted from police raids nearly every morning, which force them to run away." In Russia news, oh no, them pesky Russians again. Russia threat, Putin plotting on Europe's doorstep, warns UK military chief. The United Kingdom must act quickly or risk being outmuscled by Russia, the head of the British Army has warned today. Sir Nick Carter said Britain cannot afford to sit back as Vladimir Putin strengthens his armed forces. Speaking at the Royal United Services Institute, RUSI, he said the threats posed by Russia needed to be addressed now. He said, "The threats we face are not thousands of miles away but are now on Europe's doorstep. We have seen how cyber warfare can be both waged on the battlefield and to disrupt normal people's lives. We in the UK are not immune from that. The time to address these threats is now. We cannot afford to sit back." He said Russian hostilities could come sooner than we expect, and won't simply be a case of little green men. It will start with something we don't expect. Russia will do something their enemy least expects, and also try to avoid a shooting war, preferring missiles and bombs. And he said the conflict in Syria had been used by Russian brass as an opportunity to combat test weapons and personnel. Also of concern was an accidental conflict sparked by the sort of false alarm seen in Hawaii last week. He said, "The greatest risk is the risk of miscalculation. The recent false alert in Hawaii is an indication of how easy it would be to miscalculate." Earlier today, Prime Minister Theresa May said, "Looking at the speech, the Chief of General Staff is saying that we face a range of threats and we need to make sure we have the capabilities required to address them. That is exactly what we are doing as part of the National Security Capability Review, and we are doing that from a position of strength where we have a £36 billion defence budget which will rise to almost £40 billion by 2020/21. That's the biggest defence budget in Europe, the second biggest in NATO and the fifth largest in the world." For more Robot Daily News, please like, share and sub. Thanks bitches.